Hey, this is the Hard Truth, Tony Shaffer, powered by 6 Hour, Never Settle. I had a choice of what I carried in combat. I carried the best. I recommend you carry the best. Carry 6 Hour. What do I got today? Well, I got a bunch of things. I don't want to bring them all out this minute, but we'll get something at halftime. I'll pull something out from the safe. Just saying. We are on the America Out Loud Talk Radio Network, also available on the podcast network. And check us out, Project Sentinel, projectsentinel.com. You can hear the old shows at thehardtruthwithtony.com. We have a lot of hilarity and frivolity in the shows. I think you'll like them. And then we are also powered by Swiss America. Swiss America, be sure and call to get a free copy of The Secret War on Cash. We all know how important cash is and how certain folks don't necessarily like us having freedom. Cash is freedom. Call them for their newsletter, 800-289-2646. Again, 800-289-2646. Tell them Tony Shaffer sent you. Without further ado, we're bringing in my friend, Colonel Retired John Mills. Hey, John, welcome to the Hard Truth.
Hey, Tony, thank you. An honor to be on your show.
Well, it's an honor to have you. I always enjoy our time on Newsmax on the air. I was impressed, and I'll just say, I've never told you this, but I was impressed by the fact that you were a colonel who knew what the hell you were talking about, just by the fact that you just put it out there. And so let me read your background here. A national security professional who served in 5 areas: the Cold War, the peace dividend, which I guess got off with Monica Lewinsky, took most of that, just saying, the war on terror, the war on chaos, and now the great power showdown, which I think we'll talk a little bit about today. I'd like to have you back and do more of a detailed show on that. But we got so much more to get to. And of course, fighting to save the Republic. He's a former director of cyber policy, strategy, international affairs at the Department of Defense. John is a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy. So a great resume. And let me just say this on a personal note, as a friend, you are one of those colonels I always admired because you do stuff. Can I say you do? I want to use the S word, but I'm being polite. But you're one of those guys that I admired. I called you guys Iron Colonels because you just didn't care. You're just going to go do it. And I always appreciated that because there's too many colonels who get so concerned about, well, being a colonel. It's like, I'm a colonel now and I've got to be concerned. It's like, no, you don't. Be a colonel, be a leader. And you were always a leader. So thank you for doing that, John. I appreciate it.
Oh, that means a lot, Tony. Thank you.
Well, I've served with a lot of colonels, good and bad, and you're on the good list, just saying. Not that matters, of course, not for Christmas, but I'm just saying, I should do a list someday. We could probably do this because I'm sure you have a similar list, like of great leaders and bad leaders, and kind of the best and the worst. It would be a hilarious show, but I digress. But speaking of digression, John, we are here to see what can be, and I want to be unburdened by the past. Because the past is so burdening, I think it's best to see what unseeing the burden can mean if we unburden ourselves. So without further ado, let's talk about Kamala.
Well, that was a very good quote, Tony. And Kamala didn't come up with that herself. I mean, that's straight out of Chairman Mao's Little Red Book.
Yeah. Well, I think if she gets her way, she'd start wearing Mao jackets and have everybody carry her little Kamala's little blue book. So, unlike little Wooly Brown's little black book, which she was in, just saying, not that there's anything wrong with being something on the side, but I mean, there are benefits clearly, and she benefited. But let's not go down that path because I'll get in trouble, and we'll both get in a lot of trouble. So, what I want to talk to you about is, I'm going to ask you a question, John, and be honest with me. Do Kamala Harris and Joe Biden look the same? Because that's what they're trying to convince us, that they're just the same person, two sides of the same coin, right? We've gone from a week ago, Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. He's sharper than Albert Einstein in his best day. To like, oh no, he can't do it. Kamala is the person, and we're supposed to just pretend we don't notice the difference. I mean, what's going on?
Well, this is the biggest bait and switch in American political history. This was just like on January 6th, we were set up. We were set
Yeah.
up for this. Uh, yeah, did they intend to go forward with Joe? They just kind of wing it in some ways in their reckless abandonment of crushing America. And I think they saw an opportunity to shove Joe out of the way and put Kamala in. And Kamala has never, please name one accomplishment
Yeah.
of Kamala and say, well, she was elected senator. Well, lots of people were elected senator. And if you actually talk to people would be shocked if they talk to some of these people. Nothing intelligent comes out of their mouths. Just because somebody wins an election does not mean they're intelligent. They just happen to be, the planets were in alignment and the party apparatus was able to stuff enough ballots to get them through. I mean, so no accomplishments,
Right.
nothing going on upstairs, and yet suddenly, she is the miraculous savior because Joe can't go any further. And just asterisk, Joe needs to leave immediately. If he can't run in the election, he can't be president.
Yeah. Well, I think we agree, and I think that's where it's all going. I think ultimately he's going to hang back because he's got some, mess to clean up. Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, and things like that. So, by the way, quick aside on Dr. Biden. I understand, and just from looking at the waves, it's like waves on a pond when you throw a rock in, John. Seems to me that that the family really wanted to stop the avalanche of Biden's demise. I mean, it seems like one of the reasons it's taken this long to convince him to leave is because she and Hunter were really trying to get him to hang in there. And by the way, I was trying to figure out what school she went to become a dental proctologist. Do you know what medical school they teach dental proctology at? I'm just curious because she seems to have really a good skill of coming and going, getting things coming and going. Just saying. So
You mean Kamala or Jill?
no, Jill, doctor
I've
doctor of
actually I
dental
didn't know what she
proctology.
was a doctor of, but the way she I mean, I think she could be a kindergarten teacher. The way she cheered Joe after the
Yeah.
first debate, you did great, Joe. You answered all the questions, Joe. It was like she was cheerleading for K4 through K5. I mean,
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think this would have been all over quicker if it wasn't for Jill and first felon Hunter Biden. I think they really, and I think that back to your point, I think that's why Joe's going to hang on for a while because I think that's part of the deal. He probably cut a deal with whoever's in charge, which I think is Obama at this point. At least he's the quarterback for the team. And I think they said basically, well, Joe, you can hang around to clean up some of the mess, get your 10% kind of squared away so you can move on. But I think that's the only reason he's around because let's face it, he's not capable. If he's not capable to run, like you said, he's not capable to be commander in chief. But let's talk about that for a second because I don't think he is commander in chief. I think Janet Yellen's run the economy, which is why it's another reason why it's bad. I think Jake Sullivan's running national security. I think Lloyd Austin is marginally, and I know Lloyd. I served with him in combat. I think Lloyd is marginally running the defense enterprise. I think he's a big corporate guy who likes to get. I think it's why he's all in with the Ukraine things. I think he sees that Boeing, Lockheed Martin, they're all going to make a mint, and he's going to step out after being sec def and make a couple million here and there. So I think it's everybody but Joe in charge. But I think, do you think there's going to be a great deal of change if Kamala takes over from Joe regarding what I just said regarding who's really in charge?
The Republican House needs to absolutely push this. Everybody needs to push this. Biden needs to leave immediately.
Yeah.
He has the nuclear football. Who in the world is controlling the nuclear football right now?
Right.
This is scary. It's not right. This is exactly what the 25th Amendment was for.
Right.
If they don't eject him based on the 25th Amendment, I never want to hear the word 25th Amendment again.
Yeah.
This is, he needs to get out. And Kamala, if she's going to run for president and the power brokers in the Democrat Party are just going to ignore everybody's vote in the Democrat primary and do whatever they want to do, which is what they normally do anyway, and steal elections even on their internal to their side, fine. She has to be president also, because that is the order of succession, and he needs to get out. He is a non-functioning blob that clearly has medical and cognitive issues. He needs to leave. If they care about the American people, which they don't,
No.
he needs to leave immediately. And guess what? So then she's going to have double prizes and run the country and try to run a campaign.
So that's kind of what I wanted to hit next is who really pushes this narrative, because I think, John, it looks like they've been preparing this narrative for a while. I mean, they had it all ready to go. And I'm going to say something, and I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think they counted on Trump being dead at this point. I think that the whole thing that happened with Trump, all the narrative stuff that was going to happen, I think they were preparing for a Nikki Haley, Kamala Harris showdown. That this was kind of like, yeah, we're just going to change both horses at the same time, because I don't think they're really happy with Biden. I don't think they think Biden's holding up, and I think, frankly, whoever the mono state, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, I think that they were presuming that Trump would be dead, and that the convention would be a coronation of Nikki Haley and mourning. What do you think?
Hey, the more we look into this, if nothing else, the decrementing of available Secret Service resources for Trump,
Oh yeah,
that was willful, that was intentional. Now, what is it? Cheetle is out. Okay. And, again, I'm always going to call balls and strikes fairly, as much as I
yeah,
do not like Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin's simple comment was he didn't even ask a question. He just said, Cheetle, you need to resign. That's it.
yeah.
Good on him. I mean, that's the captain. The ship hits something, captain's relieved. That's the way it is, no matter what. Secret Service, job one, protect the president. Okay, Cheetle, you're out. So I mean, I was good on. Ro Khan on the Democrat side also good for him. Hey, Cheetle, you need to resign. And
Yeah.
so she's gone. Now she's gone back to protecting Cheetos or whatever she does. And look, this was this a plan by the deep staters to kill Trump? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm very careful to declare conspiracies, but there are no coincidences. And
Right.
again, the severe degradation of resources, severely understaffed, under-resourced. There's different tiers, just like there's tiers of special operations in the JSOC community. There's tiers of support from the Secret Service.
Right.
Trump was getting economy class at best.
At best.
Now he's been bumped up to economy plus. Kennedy is now in economy minus. He was getting 0 before. Look, this is the Butler County sheriff seemed to be far more on top of things than Cheetle did. Cheetle couldn't. The shameful responses of the roof too steep. I mean, what bonehead action officer put together those talking points? Come on, give me a break. I mean, this was like the meme of the century here.
Right.
The roof too steep. I mean, oh my goodness.
But let's hit that for a second. Is Cheetle just stupid? Because you and I I've had to testify. You've had to do all these things with senior officers. John, I would never walk in to a hearing without a basic set of interrogatories ready to be answered. It's like, I know I'm going to be asked these things. I'm going to have a presentation. And oh, by the way, one of the most telling things I thought was when when Marjorie Taylor Greene, was it Marjorie Taylor Greene, who accused her of having leaked her testimony to the media. She'd given copies of her testimony. It's like, oh, I don't know how that happened. Of course you know how that happened. Nobody else has your testimony except you. I mean, it's like, seriously, it's like, is she, because that's stupid. That's just stupid. You don't say, oh, I have no idea how they got my testimony. You're the only one that had it. I mean, was she stupid?
I don't know exactly the staffing levels of the front office of the Secret Service, but even in the the entity I was in within the Office of Secretary of Defense, if you have any brains, you create a little commander's action group right
Right.
up with you may not be this, the SecDef has that, obviously.
Yeah, and so does the chairman.
The
I've worked with the chairmans.
yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
chairman has a group like that. You take a few sharp people, and that's their job, is to do all the preps and all the briefings
Yeah.
for testimony. So maybe they're so severely short-staffed at Secret Service that she has to do her own talking points. I can't believe that. But I think this is the victory of ideology, of woke ideology,
Yes.
and the hubris where she just says something. This is the problem with all these Harvard Belford Center educated morons in the U.S. government is if it's a they can just say it and will it into existence. They can defy the laws of gravity because their end state of a perfect utopia is far more important than facts or actually accomplishing something. So if she, so something blurts out of her mouth, roof too steep, doesn't matter if there's any empirical evidence, doesn't matter, it's truth. And this is I've seen this over and over again. There's several Obama folks I'd go round and round about. I was a professional, I was agnostic, nonpartisan.
Right.
But if I'm going to get handed something that doesn't make any sense, don't ask me to chop on it. And I'm not going to chop on ideology. And these people run the universe by bullets on a PowerPoint slide. No
Right.
backup, no supporting evidence. Just if it's a bullet on a PowerPoint slide, it's truth, move on. And this is the world they live in. So just the hubris, the idiocy, roof too steep.
Well, that's the thing. I want to touch base on that sort of thing regarding her. Now, think about this. You've had to run numbers, as do I. I've actually ran proprietaries, which are the technical term for cover companies, where I had to run things and keep two sets of books legally. Well, sort of legally. It was legal because we were doing it as the government. But my point being, John, their budget is $3.1 billion, and they've got, according to her, 36 people they protect. So I just can't see, based on the things I've had to do with limited budgets. I mean, I was running an off the books op when back when Steve Cambone was the chief of intel for the Pentagon, and it was a cyber op. I'll just leave it at that. I'll do kind of a quick summary. It had to do with essentially creating an online site for people to come interact with, because we were trying to collect intelligence to do an operation. This was back in 2000, 2001, early days of cyberspace. I think 2000, 2001, 2002. And I figured out how to do it, the op for $10,000. They were blown away by the fact. They said, well, the last guy that asked us to do this, it cost him $2 million. Well, I guess you were overcharged. My point being, $3 billion, John, for goodness sake, how is it you can't handle protecting 36 people with $3 billion? How is that possible?
Well, most career bureaucrats, they get conditioned that, and I get it, and I've been there. I'm the opposite of most career bureaucrats because I try to do things as fast and efficient as possible.
Me too. Yeah.
Every other bureaucrat out there acts as if they actually don't want to accomplish anything because they're terrified the nanosecond they accomplish something, their job's going to disappear. So they will milk these things forever because they're terrified their job will disappear if they actually accomplish something. This is what drives their DNA and their psychology.
Yeah.
And 30, the budget, people get conditioned, and it's part of the beatdown process over time. They're constantly getting shoved new responsibilities without any more resources. So many are conditioned. No matter what the question is, the answer is, I need 10 people and $1 million.
Yeah,
no matter what the question is, I need 10 people and $1 million.
Yeah. Well, I put together new organizations. Again, Stratus Ivy was the thing we put together to do, what we now call close access operations and things like that, which were back in the early days. Nobody nobody knew we were doing them, and that's fine. They aren't supposed to. But my point is that as we were creating this, my dear friend, Major General Bob Harding was the director of ops for the DO and DIA, not CIA, DIA. And Bob just said, go do it. Go do what's necessary. And I was overturning a lot of, rocks and pissing in people's rice bowls and breaking them because I was supposed to get things done. So I had one of those senior SCS level bureaucrats. We'll just call him Peter Klein because that's his name, Peter B. Klein. Hey, Peter, if you're listening. He came to me and said, he pulled me in a room, there at Clarendon, the old clandestine location in Clarendon. It's not there now, folks. Just saying, it's not there. It's moved. It's not over the metro, over the metro, and there at Clarendon in Roslyn anymore, or not Roslyn, Arlington. Anyway, Pete calls me in, and I'm sure you've been in similar meetings, John. Pete has this pained look on his face. He says, Tony, you've got to quit being so disruptive. You got to stop being, it's like, just settle down, and all of this will be yours in about 5 years. It's like, I don't want this. I don't want any of this. I don't want to be part of your phony baloney. Work. I didn't want that. So to your point, it's like, yeah, I made people very uncomfortable because I don't want what you got, but I'll take what you have so I can do my job. And it drove people nuts. And it's kind of that immunity. Once you get past, it's like being in combat. After that first mission, yeah, things are dangerous, but you're out there, you're good to go. And I think it's very similar dealing with bureaucrats because they're so afraid of having to deviate or someone taking something from them or them being irrelevant. It's all about sustainment of their chunk. And if you're immune from that, you're dangerous because they see you as a danger. And it's something that's not welcome. But I think in that case, obviously we're talking about here, those bureaucrats are on the side of Kamala, of the momentum of the permanent state not wanting to do anything. And I think that's why Cheetle was so well suited to lead that. It's like, yeah, we don't want to do anything too dramatic. We just want to keep things going. And I think that's typical of who she is. I would think, I think that's what we're talking about. She was a typical bureaucrat, but more made worse by the fact she was there without any real ability to do the job. Right.
Yeah. Well, I believe she was actually had retired out of the
She did retire, but
yeah.
Simply being a retired agent doesn't make you qualified. I mean,
Yeah.
I've said this before about John Brennan. John Brennan, back when he was going to be the CIA director, simply because he was attending every Rolling Stone concert doesn't make him Mick Jagger and really ready to jump on stage. It's true. It's true. So,
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but I want to cover a couple of things where we hit the mid part of the show. Man, time is flying fast here. So, Blue Anon. Oh, you guys you're just conspiracy theorists thinking that Joe Biden's going to step down and somebody's going to take his place. And then 30 days later, here we are.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, they lied to us. And was this a willful setup? Just like January 6th, we were set up with Joe Biden. We were set up.
Yeah.
This was a willful bait and switch. They wanted to get rid of Joe. They didn't know how and when, but after his performance, they said, okay, now's the time, get rid of Joe.
Yeah.
This was bait and switch. I think a brilliant move by Trump is to ask for his money back from the Federal Election Commission.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta be on top of this, like absolute a blanket to smother any attempt for them to siphon off Biden funds for Kamala. Absolute violation. See, Hillary's malfeasance from 2016 was only adjudicated just like a couple of months ago. They're saying, we can lie all we want now. 8 years from now, they might come back and ask for some money. So that's okay. We'll just lie, cheat, and steal because, look, it took them 8 years to ask for money back from Hillary's 2016 campaign.
Right.
So you got to be all over them, call them what they are. They're liars. This was intentional. They intended to bait and switch and get Joe out of the way. So everything has been a fraud. And no, absolutely, she can't use any of those funds. Now we have Act Blue,
Oh my goodness.
divvying up the money and just grotesque violations of federal election campaign finance. Hey, call them for what it is and need Supreme Court injunctive relief immediately.
Yeah.
Can't accept any of this money. This is a lie. This has been a fraud against the American people. And the Democrat voters thought they were voting for one person
Right.
when the powers that be always intended to swap him out as soon as they had an excuse.
Yeah, 14 million. And so I just love it how George Clooney says swapping people out has saved democracy. It's like, what? What did you just say? It's just crazy. So I do want to hit one last thing before we go. And I've been hammering this in a number of programs I host. Mary Ann Williamson. Do you know Mary Ann Williamson? I mean, you don't know her, but do you know who she is?
Oh, the name, cue my memory here.
She's the spiritualist who's ran for president on the Democrat side.
Right. That's who I was thinking it was.
Yeah. So I know her, and so she said some notable things, and I'm just gonna we'll jump into this on the other end of the break, but she said in a post, she said it like yesterday. It's posted on Instagram. She said that their process lacks legitimacy. And she says that powerful forces were behind the scenes to force this to happen. And then she also said that the state of excitement for Kamala, which I don't know where she's getting that from, but okay. Oh, it's so great that we're having a state of excitement, but we should still have a debate at the convention, and it should be messy. And then she said that the only candidate who's actually talking about real issues is RFK. Is there something wrong with this woman's mind? Because the Democrats ain't going to do any of this, John, right?
They are going to try to get out of having a convention. They're going to try and get out of having a debate because they don't want, Biden is going to look sophisticated compared to Kamala
Yeah.
at any debate with Trump. All he needs to do is say the same line. I have no idea what she just said, and I don't think she does either. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm just, the point I'm trying to make is, what is up with people who support this nonsense, who somehow think that they're supporting democracy? I mean, I just went through what she said in her videos, like, they're not going to do it, Marianne. They're not going to do it. How do you not get it after being a Democrat for like all these years? They're not Democrat. They're not democratic. That's what I don't understand. It's like, how do people who have a brain go along with this? Well, I mean I don't get it.
They're the party with super delegates, and they do whatever they want to do, and they'll run all over Bernie Sanders, and then they just pay off Bernie Sanders to say, oh well, I got run over, but I got paid for it. Who cares?
I got a new house. So anyway, well, we'll be right back. We're gonna take a break here. We're halfway through the program. We'll be back with John Mills, Colonel John Mills, retired, one each. On the other end of the break, we'll be talking more with John and some of the other hilarity we've been facing as a nation, and we'll go and talk about a little bit of CrowdStrike if we don't get taken off the air by them in the meantime, right after this break. Hey, this is Tony Shaffer, still on the hard truth of Tony Shaffer. Isn't that great? It works together better that way. We are on the America Out Loud Talk Radio Network, on the podcast network, and check us out at projectsentinel.com. We are powered by 6 Hour. Hold on. I've got my Sig Sauer 10 millimeter 220 today. Yes, I pulled it out of the gun safe. It's the first one I got. That's 10 millimeter goodness. You can't go wrong. You could take out a bear with this. Not that I'm recommending it. I like bears. Just saying. So
we have bears around our house sometimes.
That's right.
So that would be helpful.
So anyway, we're powered by 6 Hour. Never settle. I had a choice what I carried in combat. You should choose. I had a choice of what I carried in combat. I always carry the best. You should carry the best 6 Hour. So also you need to check out our sponsor, one of our sponsors, Swiss America. They have something for you, a special walking Liberty $50. This offer will get you some $50 that you need to have, hard currency, hard physical things that will go through and be there for you and your family, no matter what happens with fiat currencies, is important. So call them at 800-289-2646. Ask them about the Walking Liberty $50 offer. You cannot go wrong. 800-289-2646. Anyway, lastly, we're on our old shows are on thehardtruthwithtony.com. And then Cherie Curry. I'm wearing Cherie's t-shirt today. Cherie Curry, rock and roll legend, does our bumper music and our theme music, and she's off in Europe, right, Chris? She's off in Europe right now.
She is in
On
Europe.
tour.
She's doing a special tour. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be the greatest tour you ever had.
And so I'm joined, without further ado, I'm joined in the second part of the show by the acclaimed Chris Cordani and the alluring Elizabeth Breckenkamp.
Why am I in the mood for
Thank
Swiss Miss hot chocolate right now?
That's good, Swiss Miss.
Oh,
All right.
I am channeling my inner Coraline Helga from Hogan's Heroes. That's one.
Oh, that's
all right. And we're
Helga.
back with
Awesome.
John Mills. Colonel John Mills is still here. And I forgot to mention his book. John, Chris put that up there on the screen for us. So the deep state, war against the deep state. John, say a couple words about the book and what people would get if they get the book.
Well, thank you, Tony. It's really about the establishment of the original mass surveillance system, as we would know it in modern times, in the 2007 to 2014 period, which really led to the establishment of the fourth, fifth, and sixth branches of government: the administrative state, the fifth being the marriage of federal law enforcement, intelligence, and big tech. And then the sixth being the nonprofits. That's all that data collected can be leveraged by the unlawful fourth, fifth, and sixth branches of government. So that's what we're experiencing. And I was part of the whole stand-up of the original mass surveillance, which was done legally, under legal reasons, but it really was hijacked, ripped off, and perverted. And here we are today.
Yeah, so I have similar experience regarding some of the black operations capabilities, which I alluded to, but I can't get into. But I think you know what I'm talking about regarding technology, regarding industrial level contact with certain companies and close access and things like that. So I have to be very careful because those things are still highly protected. But my experience is the same, that things which were, I think, done necessarily to benefit protecting the American people was then turned on the American people. It's a very dangerous thing. So I highly recommend that. The War Against the Deep State. Is that on Amazon, by the way, John?
It's on Amazon. And the first book, The Nation Will Follow, me being in the middle of the spying on candidate Trump and then President Trump, my statements to the Durham investigation, and really the action plan for the American citizen to secure the nation by securing their county. But they're all on Amazon. Signed copies on Lindell My Store. So go to Lindell My Store for signed copies.
Yeah. So you would not believe, John. Well, I guess you would believe. I've made protected disclosures like you have to members of Congress, and you would not believe how many times I've been yelled at by Louis Gohmert. Like, how did you not see the stuff you were doing would be turned against the American people? It's like, yeah, well, I wasn't a politician. I wasn't thinking in political terms. And I think you probably had a similar experience. Like, I'm just trying to do my job here to see how we can use. And by the way, I've said that technology is ambivalent to the user. Technology is not inherently good or bad. It's about the people who run it. Right, John? I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, the deep staters saw opportunities and, really, and I was at the White House end of Bush, beginning of Obama, and it wasn't until about 2010, part of my portfolio was kind of introducing the U.S. government to the innovation of Silicon Valley. And it wasn't until about mid to late 2010 where the Obama folks and Silicon Valley became kindred spirits and became married. Up until that time, they actually were a little bit suspect of each other.
Yeah. Oh, no, I dealt with that before the marriage was made, if you know what I mean. Yes.
But they saw benefits from coming together. Big tech, is all about crony capitalism, and which is not capitalism, but that's the big government folks. Obama, they love crony capitalism. They love selecting winners and losers. And the Obama folks realized, oh my, everything that
So
they can do with this.
yeah, so you probably know my friend Keith Alexander, then,
Oh
don't
yeah.
you?
Oh yeah. A
And
consummate showman. Yes.
yeah, so well, I worked with them. Believe it or not, we're leading into the next topic by talking about all this, and it's great. We're highlighting your book in the
Wait.
process of
And
getting to where I want to be.
his company, I think his company was it Ironhead or Bonehead or whatever it was,
Bonehead.
just declared bankruptcy.
Yeah, well, but in the beginning, he literally stole the tools, techniques, and technology we developed in the late '90s, early 2000s, and took him out into the private sector, which I think he should go to jail for. I mean, he didn't take everything, John, but he took most of it.
He was
And
able to argue that yes, in addition to being NSA director of Dernza, director of NSA, and the first commander of Cyber Command, in his spare time in the evening, he was working on these lines of code in his basement, and legal counsel approved that.
yeah, I
And
know he wasn't. He's. I could tell you if it wasn't still black, who he got it from and how he got it. I mean, that's how corrupt it is. And of course, part of this, and I think you understand my philosophy here, is like, yeah, I don't want to be a dick, so to speak, although I am sometimes, and compromise things, which I think still should be used to protect the nation. I don't think we should. But with that said, Keith Alexander took a lot of the stuff we did, and he said, "Oh yeah, I was in my basement looking at downloads of Sarah Michelle Gellar, and doing code." No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. So it's
NSA legal counsel proved that, and
it's a shame, but it got me to where I want to be. Not in Alexander's basement. Just saying, I don't know what else went down in there. Just saying, I would not be. I suspect it smells a lot like Joe Biden's basement, and that's probably patchouli and used Depends. But I don't know this. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just saying. So with that said, John, CrowdStrike, another organization which I think is but an extension of the deep state. So one of the things I've been trying to keep alive, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, is that, man, oh man, all of a sudden everything's going down, all this critical infrastructure. Oh, by the way, the critical node is actually CrowdStrike, not Microsoft. I remember hearing about this. Oh, Microsoft stuff's going down. It's like, really? Well, CrowdStrike says it's a Microsoft. It's like, no, it's CrowdStrike stuff. And I think one of the most notable things which alerted me to it, and I've never trusted CrowdStrike since they were the ones who gave out the bogus information about the DNC server being hacked, which we all know wasn't hacked. It was, the whole thing was bogus. By the way, I was confronted by Scott Shane at the New York Times on this, but that's another conversation, saying, well, don't you understand? CrowdStrike got a copy and they confirmed. It's like, no, they didn't. That you have to look at the original server to figure out what was actually compromised, Scott. Don't be, it was, anyway, I'm digressing and geezing at the same time. But my point is, CrowdStrike, Elon Musk, John, went public and said, at this point, I have deleted everything from anything CrowdStrike from all of my concerns anywhere. So do you think Elon was trying to give us a message about what to do about CrowdStrike?
Well, like him or not, and Elon does some good things and not so good things, but he's decisive. He's a leader. Good move, good enterprise move by him. Now, cyber and cybersecurity is as much about personalities and policies as it is about the technology.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, at the White House, at the top levels of the government, we spent about 95% of our time debating policy. Rarely did the issue of a line of code rise to that level, because that's a technical matter.
Yeah.
We're concerned with policies. Can we? Should we? How do we? Things like that. So cyber and cybersecurity is as much about personalities as it is about anything else. And a lot of times, hey, we got the Faucis of cyber, George Kurtz and Dmitry Alperovich.
Oh my God, yes.
Can't spell disaster without Kurtz and Alperovich. Where were they in 2010? One of the previous greatest breakdowns was McAfee, which used to be one of the giants of cybersecurity. All they were doing, all McAfee and Symantec did was essentially analyze as fast as possible malware against known signatures of
Right.
malware. Okay, you know, you're essentially doing a lineup, you know, where you got a picture of a wanted person, you're sliding the new malware. Okay, does that match? No. Does this match? No. Does this match? No. Does this match? Maybe. Put it over here. Does this match? Yes.
Yeah.
Block.
Right.
Okay, this is not complex here. So, and it was, but so McAfee essentially died as a giant because of the 2010. Well, where was George Kurtz? Well, he was the chief technical officer for McAfee. Where was Alperovich? He was one of these princes and darlings of cyber who just gallivanted here and there. Who knows who? I mean, Dmitry Alperovich is essentially the same thing as Eugene Kaspersky. You don't even know who he is, who he works for, what he's up to, but everybody loves him. And, you know,
Yeah, I never got that.
So the two of them, and then you got Sean Henry. Now, Sean, and, you know, Sean, I sat across the table at the White House for years with Sean. Good man, was very helpful to me on certain situations. But in the end, it looks like, look at Sean Henry, departed the FBI, became the model for senior executives leaving the FBI, because when CrowdStrike went public, he walked away with some serious double-digit M's, you know, and he became guess, you know, hey, he was great friends with all the FBI directors.
Yeah.
With Comey, he was good friends with Chris Comey, and he was the model for all, and I know a bunch of FBI folks. He was the model for all the FBI executives who wanted to parachute out and make some real money.
Yeah.
You know, he's that. What really is odd about this, people say, well, it was a line of code, you know, but this doesn't make any sense. I think this thing was a huge smoke screen and was willful and intentional and part of the Kamala transition smoke and mirrors, chaff and flares.
I agree. Thank you, John.
Absolutely.
I saw that, and I'm glad you're kind of validating my thinking, because to me it's pretty obvious it was linked, but no one else wanted. And by the way, they've made it go away now. It's like, oh, we don't want to talk about it now. It's like,
oh yeah,
dude,
well,
you can't.
Any breach or any meltdown, it would take weeks and months to definitively establish technical truth on the matter. And yet here, a few hours after the event, Kurtz is running around saying it was our fault. Well, you can never be too honest, but how did he know so fast that it was his fault?
Right.
It doesn't make corporate management sense. It doesn't make technical sense. It doesn't make programmatic and oversight sense. Nothing makes sense. This was, again, we were set up just like January 6th, just like Joe Biden. We were set up by CrowdStrike.
Well, I think it was a test for something bigger. What do you think?
Oh, well, I think this was the big thing. I mean, this was, I would say, by affected individuals, this was probably the largest cyber event in history so far. This was an absolute nightmare across the world, and you still got thousands of people stranded because of the event.
Well, let me say something to you that I've talked about. I'll let the other folks jump in because, you know, I even though it's my show, I'd like sharing. Just saying. So, what I'm going to say, you know, I'm friends with Jim Woolsey. Jim, you know, former director of CI. Jim's a good guy. Jim and I have looked at, you know, I wrote a book called The Last Line, which I highly recommend. You know, I'll get you a copy if you'd like, because we go into some of this stuff. And we looked at doing another book. We've talked about it. And the idea here is there's things that we are alluding to. We don't want to get into trouble because of certain programs that I've worked for or you've worked for by talking about it. But I've said, John, on the record, there's nothing more dangerous than having vulnerabilities that could result in a mass loss of bulk power across the eastern seaboard in the middle of a blizzard where the grid goes down for, say, a week. How many millions of people would be injured or, tens of thousands killed because if you can't bring the grid back up in any substantive way, in big cities especially. So I've said, it's like, this is you need to understand that folks are going to figure out how to weaponize technology against us, and we need to act. What say you on that?
Oh, absolutely. And with the power thing, people don't understand the grid. They think, well, we'll just release all the energy we've stored in batteries.
Yeah, no.
Hello, that's
Yeah.
not how the grid and the power generation system works. We'd go broke building
Mhm.
batteries to store. They don't. That's not the way the system works.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's all, yeah, it goes down, and it's the lie of green energy. It's going to
Oh,
give you 12%.
Mhm.
That's the best you're going to get. 12% of the total needs from green energy. So where's the other 88% coming from? It's coming from fossil fuels, baby. It's
yeah.
coming from natural
Mhm.
gas. It's coming from oil. It's coming from coal, nuclear, hydro. So it's a lie. They know it. You just don't turn on the battery, the stored energy. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, I want to have you back if you
Exactly.
come back, John, and talk about the whole. I've got my other degree besides political science is environmental studies, and I've known what a sham this is for years. And I think I'd love to have a
Mm.
detailed discussion to help educate our audience on what the real deal is on this stuff. With that said, I want to open up to my colleagues to jump in. So over to you guys.
So I was reading through the synopsis, the war in your book, War Against the Deep State, and I definitely want to get this because I noticed. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of key issues. One of the things you pointed out, at least in the synopsis, is China's role in the deep state. And even though I think all of us realize, because we pay attention, we actually make the effort to dig deeper and to look at the news and find out how much of a role China does play in so much corruption here. But one of the things is, how is it possible China is allowed to buy land in our country? Because they're buying more and more land. They're buying more and more. And I don't get it. How is that legally possible? That just blows my mind. And I wonder how many people still don't know that.
Well, there is no department of we're going to check on people who are buying foreign land purchases. There is no national database. There's
But
actually no
that seems
law
so
against it.
suspicious, doesn't it?
That
That seems
no,
really
there's just,
suspicious
I
to
mean,
me.
it is a balance. Do we want huge government or we want a balance? Because the challenge is the Chinese are not ripping off our classified stuff as much anymore. They're actually
Hmm.
becoming experts in legislation. They knew there was a gap and seam
Hmm.
line here. The CFIUS Committee on Foreign Investment Rules and the update Foreign Investment Risk Modernization Act of 2018. They knew it
Hmm.
was really essentially silent on foreign land purchases. So they said, hey, whoa, this is nothing but opportunity here, baby. And there's nothing
Oh,
illegal about it. We're gonna pile on, baby. Now there has been some updates and there has been some language related to around sensitive DoD facilities and things like that. But
right.
it's really a mess. They gamify when they'll throw 10 intelligence analysts at an issue and they gamify it and let the 10 of them fight to the death to see who comes up with the best analytical assessment. And they realize, hey, they're just data mining our legislation and finding our gaps and seams. And is that illegal
Data
for?
mining. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's just insane.
Well, we need a department of checking who's buying land from now on. So we need a new federal department.
Yes, yes, we do. In
Something
fact,
else. One more federal government.
well, look,
I'm
as I
sorry.
said,
Go ahead, Chris.
there are local agencies who actually keep track of who owns what, though. Your local governments, your
Mm,
county clerks, they do keep track of who owns what and where, but you can still put those names under shell corporations and fake names, that sort of thing. We
yeah,
don't
that's
monitor that
true.
properly. What we do monitor properly is, at least we hope so, are Tony's takes.
Oh boy, is it that time
Tony's
already?
take.
It
Wow.
is, and we
It's
have
that
to.
time.
We're doing a quick session here, but Tony's takes are powered by Sig Sauer. Never settle.
6 hour.
And
Never
yeah,
settle.
Never settle.
unless you're the Democrats, never settle, because that's what they're doing right now. In fact, Tony, since we're on that subject, you did touch
Yeah.
on it before. It seems the Dems reluctantly endorsed Kamala Harris's candidacy for the president. It looks like she's a stopgap, in my opinion. But some Democrats still think Trump is beatable. Does this make Harris an albatross around the Democrats' neck, sort of a Kamalbatross, if you will?
Come Albatross. No,
Yeah, but, oh, I love it.
I've said that her showing up to debate President Trump would be essentially the equivalent of Stormy Daniels debating Godzilla, and I still stand by that. I'm just saying. I think that's what we can expect. So, kind of the
That's
Stormy
a
Daniels.
visual.
She
Yeah.
does have that Stormy Daniels vibe, doesn't she? Right?
Ask
Uh-huh.
Willie Brown
That's right.
or Montel Williams.
Oh.
How about that?
Montel Williams.
That's true.
So, were they all together at a party
Ooh.
sometime? Not that I
I-
want to know.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know that.
Maybe
I don't
Clinton
wanna
brought a
know.
cigar. Who knows?
By the way,
Oh.
quick note on that, John, you'll appreciate this. Hillary Clinton came and visited our command when I was in Afghanistan. She visited Lloyd Austin, by the way. Just saying, not that I think they were linking up or anything, but Hillary was at Bagram when I was there when Austin was commander.
Wow.
Is there a link there? Maybe there is. I don't know. I don't want to imply things. I'll get in trouble.
There's a
But
connection.
we did actually have access to Cuban cigars because you can buy them there because there's no restrictions. And someone left a Cuban cigar on the table in front of her seat where she was briefed at. Just saying. I didn't do that. It wasn't me. But
Oh,
someone
that's
did.
funny.
Someone did. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me. I'm serious. It wasn't. I mean, I'll get
I
blamed.
believe you.
See, everyone's going to say, well, he's just saying that because he did it. It's like, no, I really
No.
didn't. But I'm going to get blamed anyway. I know how these things work. So.
We believe you.
All right. John, what do you think? Do you think that Kamala Mala Ding Dong is going to be an adequate challenger to Donald Trump and his Godzilla-like skills?
Well, they're pretending to be energized and revitalized, enabled by the legacy corrupt media.
Yeah.
I just think the nanosecond she gets on stage with Trump, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a debate. I don't think she's going to be able to get out of this, no matter how much she ducks and weaves. She's going to have to do it. And when they see her on stage, everybody's going to realize that there's nothing intelligent nothing's going on upstairs. She's still living like she's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, smoking pot. I mean, it's just...
I think she's got the Nancy Pelosi plan of vodka-induced confidence. Just saying. So anyway, with that confidence, we got to go. I can't believe it's been an hour, John. You got to come back. We got to have you back because I want to talk more about the New Green Deal or New Green Grift. And of course, check out his book. I'm going to buy it, John. I'm going to go online right now. The War Against the Deep State. Next time we're together, I'm going to have a physical copy I can put up in front of the screen here and everything. So, John, God bless you.
Is that an audiobook? Is that an audiobook too?
This one I did not do. The first book there is an audio version. Or The Nation Will Follow there is an audio version. I just ran out of time.
Okay, cool.
One, honestly.
No, that's okay. Just wondering.
And before I go, I just want to make a statement regarding hearings this week. I know nobody saw it, but behind me I had an AR-15 hanging out, and it didn't attack me. Just saying. If it attacked me, you would have seen it. Yeah. So I'm just saying, despite what they say about AR-15s attacking people, it didn't attack me. Just saying, So there you go.
It didn't wake up from its
didn't
slumber.
attack me. All right. So anyway, we're done for this week. God bless you all. Thank you all for being here. John, thanks for being here. Chris, Elizabeth, we'll see you all next week for another episode of The Hard Truth. Until then, watch out for Kamala and we'll
and
make
coconut
sure
trees.
That's right. Watch out because she's
And
going to
cannibals.
be looking to make sure that you pay your 80% tax eventually. So anyway, till then, we'll see you next week.